I didn't wake up that morning thinking, I'm gonna buy a new delay pedal today, but sometimes you just gotta. You just gotta. First guitar in there was a very lightly strummed Reverend Jetstream with a slight offbeat delay coming from this guy. Also, I put some really interesting new pickups in that Jetstream. Find me in the comments if you want to talk about that. Then I really pushed the pedal both in terms of intensity and modulation, and I even threw in a summer school science fair in front of it for just a little bit of dirt, and I was really surprised at what I heard. Guitar is a blue Stratocaster. I really want to point out that all of the delay and what you might hear as reverb on there came from this pedal. There's no other reverb pedals, no plugins, nothing from my amp. It's all from this guy. This is a very simple implementation of a delay modeled after something which is very interesting and complex. And we'll get into the oil can history and mechanics later on in the video. For now, let's just focus on the controls we've got here. Typical delay controls, actually the exact same controls you'd find on the MXR Carbon copy, just in a different order and location. The three knobs up here are for the overall mix, the delay time, and the feedback. Once we've got those dialed in, we've also got this toggle over here to control the overall amount of modulation. Yeah, the plus mode definitely takes us on a much more wobbly, warbly journey, and you did hear a little bit of gap of silence followed by some zooming around to catch up while it was switched. That's hopefully not a deal breaker for anyone. These were a limited edition pedal, part of a series of blacked out pedals, which sold out pretty quickly. It's not my first JHS pedal, but it is my first 3 Series pedal. Obviously, the black on black, okay, yeah, it makes the labels kinda hard to read in certain lighting from certain angles, but it's 3 knobs and a switch. It's not exactly the panel for a System 360-91, am I right? That's for all my other mainframe nerds out there. Anyway, the black on black theme looks pretty slick. And it also works because this is modeled as an oil can delay, which leads us to our first big question: what the heck's an oil can delay? Well, by now you're familiar with tape delay. Magnetic tape in a continuous loop being pulled over a write head and then at least one read head. Lots of moving parts, lots of opportunity for wear and tear and for things to break down, but a classic sound that worked just fine for a very long time. And it's the same type of principle at work in the Benson Echo Rec, also a magnetic echo system where tape was replaced with a magnetic spinning drum. Well, in the 1960s, Ray LeBeau of Telray, which would, through a few twists and turns, become Morley, reimagined the same sort of mechanism but with a few major tweaks. So it's got a rotating drum like an Echo Rec, but instead of using magnetic medium on the side of it, it used an electrostatic method across the flat surface. And to keep that drum moving smoothly as the pickups slide across the surface, the drum was positioned this way, up and down like a car tire, with a small amount of oil at the bottom of the outer casing, which gets picked up and coats the drum as it rotates. That oil serves another very important purpose. It provides a layer of capacitance so the charge written to the surface wouldn't just immediately jump off and dissipate into the air. It's almost like tattoo ink going through your epidermis and into the dermis, except in this case it's an electrical charge being placed under oil. That's pretty metal. We can read a lot more about this method of delay in the patent. There's even a few nice pictures in here, but you won't find a definitive answer as to just what the surface is or what the oil compound is. That was kept as a trade secret. One of these days, I really want to do a video all about patents in guitar effects. It's a pretty wild space. Anyway, when this pedal here was announced and the demos first came out, I thought it was kind of funny seeing people say, oh yeah, you can really hear the dark liquid oil sound in there, as if the sound is actually traveling through a can of oil. And I'm not here to ruin anyone's fun. We hear what we want to hear. But the reason we hear anything at all is because the oil gets pushed out of the way as those pickups slide across the surface of the drum. So imagine whatever you'd like. All I care is that this is just a beautiful sounding echo unit. Hopefully nobody is surprised to learn that this is a digital pedal. There's not much room in here for a rotating drum full of oil, and I wouldn't expect that for $100 either. I didn't really feel like taking this thing completely apart. I imagine on the other side of that PCB there's a DSP, but I do want you to listen to this nice dark decay sound that we get from this digital delay pedal. Maybe you heard it in there, but even with this switch down, there is a slight amount of modulation going on, and I heard it in a very slight unevenness of the echoes coming back. But once we hit this switch up, it's like suddenly we've got half a vibrato going on. Between the belt, the oil viscosity and temperature changes, the slightest imbalance of the drum itself, I'd imagine that the modulation found on an actual oil can delay is an example of one of those happy accidents, the charm that develops once a problem becomes an option, like the sag of a guitar amp transformer or the lo-fi sound of a Bucket Brigade delay chip. In this case, we've got two options, just barely there and pretty unmistakable. And hearing those two settings juxtaposed against one another really highlights the difference. It seems a little drastic maybe, but hopefully, as you heard in the opening jam, there is room for both on this pedal. Now, let's be honest. If I put tape over the top of this and gave it to my friend Vito, who isn't as terminally online as the rest of us, I seriously doubt he'd say, "Oh, that sounds awesome. That's a great oil can delay." And that's not a dig on Vito or this pedal, just to say that oil can is a style of delay not often attempted in an emulation, and whoever attempts an oil can delay pedal gets to choose which aspects they choose to model. The Gear Page forum posting legend Agreed tried to track down a solid answer as to whether limited edition refers to the pedal itself, the color of the pedal, or the design of the sound. He didn't have much luck, and I would not die of shock if this came back in a slightly reworked package at some point. Maybe a little more room between up and down on the modulation, perhaps a multi-tap option. I would love a runaway speed and oscillation mode, kind of like what you get on the Boss RE20 when you hold the right pedal down. Plus, there's just way too many irresistible oil-related puns, and I think Josh is powerless to resist a good pun. I mean, he's got the sweet tea, what about the Texas tea? He's got the double barrel, call it the super barrel or something. Or go simple, what about the Derrick? Or the, you know what, let's just stick with those, let's stick with those first three there. And Josh, you're welcome to use any of those ideas. They're yours. I just want a demo unit. Can we please work that out? What I'm saying is, don't seek out this pedal because you suddenly need to have an oil can delay, or because, oh my god, it's limited edition. If you do get it because it's just a really nice sounding delay unit. I haven't had a chance to compare this to a Catlin Bred Add an Echo, so I can't make any statements there, but I'm really glad I got one. This just might wind up on my board, and now you know what the deal is. I'll catch you on the next one.